How far would you go for your friends? I don't mean like metaphorically or how far you go to protect them. I mean like literally, how far would you go?
Okay, I don't really know how to start. Never really vlogged. My friend Khang is Vietnamese, so I'm going to Vietnam. Met this guy in high school. He was an exchange student, and almost immediately we were friends, and we spent many days like after school in my car chatting about whatever. Usually like deeper stuff. I feel like we had very meaningful conversation. I would say. I think we had a really good synergy. Like I really like this guy. Unfortunately for me and Kang, high school came to an end. Even though we bitched and moaned about it all the time, I think we ended up somehow missing the shared suffering it put us through. Luckily for me, I don't have to travel alone. My lovely lady, Sabrina, wanted to come along for the ride, so I can't wait for two of my favorite people to meet an ocean apart from where I met either of them. Yeah, I've never been to, I've traveled by myself, but I've never been to a non-English speaking country by myself before. Well, I guess at Kang, but still. Yeah, I'm kind of nervous, but it should be fun. I'm excited. I'm also very poor now. Yeah, it's like that sometimes.
Okay, so at the end of each day of the trip, I wrote a little passage reflecting on the day and a sentence about what I learned that day. Unfortunately, I am recording me reading them all at the very end of the trip after I just got home, and I got sick on like the last day pretty much, so you can probably hear it in my voice. So that's kind of unfortunate, but we're here now. Day 1 to 3. This simultaneously felt like a single day and a whole week. I think we did almost every method of transportation to get to our destination. Serena's dad drove us to a ferry terminal, then we took a ferry to Vancouver, then a bus to a SkyTrain terminal, and then a SkyTrain to the airport.
So I'm in the airport, right? We're in the airport, right? Some dude shows up. He's a reporter with a big ass camera, and he starts asking me all these questions about like how busy the airport is and stuff, because apparently it's supposed to be the busiest day of the year. Okay, so which is why we planned. We're here like 9 hours early because we thought it was the busiest day of the year. Anyway, it's not too bad, I will say.
Honestly, I think that's a pretty good sign that we were having an interesting trip ahead of us. We also basically skipped December 21st because we were on the plane at midnight on the 20th, and then we landed in Taipei after crossing the international date line, meaning it was the 22nd when we landed. Once we got to Vietnam, Khang got us a taxi to our Airbnb. We also rode a scooter around the city when he took us out to dinner after we had settled in. Lots and lots of traveling. It was very nice to see Khang again. I don't know if it's set in quite yet that I'm in Vietnam and Khang isn't just a funny little guy on my phone, but hopefully it will soon. Lessons learned, it's nice to have friends in faraway places. Day 4. So today Khang was working and he was on the grind for most of the day, so we were kind of on our own. We went to Tao Dan Park and the Independence Palace. The park was really nice. It was in the middle of the urban sprawl, and it was just a relaxing little park. The park had all sorts of little critters and plants, along with a shrine to the founders of Vietnam. On our way out, I got hit with the most obvious scam that me and Sabrina realized was a scam before it even happened. This guy started asking to fix my shoes, and we kept saying no, and we were walking until he literally grabbed my foot and started cleaning my shoes and like gluing them back together. I would literally have had to kick him to get him to stop, which is an interesting technique to scam someone, to say the least. He made me pay him $12 in Canadian, which isn't actually too much of a scam. Plus, he actually did fix my shoes, so I didn't feel too scammed out of my money. After that, we went to the Independence Palace, which was very, very interesting, rich in history, and I loved history, so this place was probably my favorite place so far, and I imagine it would be hard to beat. For lunch, we had pho, and then spent the afternoon in our Airbnb trying to stay awake so as to combat jet lag. Then Khang and his girlfriend Lynn came over, and we had dinner and planned around his schedule so we could figure out what we wanted to do while we were here. Lesson learned today: it's okay to be assertive even if it means kicking people in the face. Day 5. Sabrina was sick today, so we spent the first half the day in the Airbnb. She napped while I read outside on the deck. At around 1, we went to the War Remnants Museum, and wow, was it interesting. It was very well put together, and it was interesting to see how the war is taught to Vietnamese people. It was obviously not going to be an unbiased take on the war, but it was still worth seeing, and I feel I learned more about the war. There's a lot of stuff that I can't show on YouTube in the museum, so just imagine. After that, we went to the Notre Dame Cathedral replica with Khang and Lynn, and for Christmas. It was very beautiful and felt very Christmassy. Then we went to a book street and walked around there. Once we had seen all we wanted to there, we went back to the Airbnb. Lesson learned today: war is not hell, because hell is full of sinners. War is mainly comprised of the innocent. Day 6. We woke up early because we were going to meet Khang at the post office at 7 a.m. to send some mail to Sabrina's friends in Canada. We were supposed to meet him there, but he slept in and missed us. At 9 a.m. we called my family, and they were just about to have Christmas Eve dinner. We chatted and talked to them about Vietnam. Sabrina got really, really sleepy after that, so she took a nap, and I accidentally joined in, and we basically passed out for around 3 hours. Luckily, when we were done with the nap, she said she felt 90% better. When we woke up, we decided Khang and Lynn needed a Christmas gift, so we went on a journey. We ended up discovering a really nice park nearby that seemed to only attract locals. Not quite sure why it's not more popular for tourists, as it was really, really nice. On our way back, we got presents. They swung by at around 6:30 and took us to the Nguyen walking street. The whole area was hyper touristy and expensive. Definitely could tell it was a place shown to foreigners to get their investments in Vietnam. We visited a shopping mall nearby that was definitely the biggest one I've ever been to. I think it was around 7 stories tall, and everything inside was super expensive. It was definitely catered to the Andrew Tate type people. Then we got Domino's pizza after that to cleanse ourselves of the bourgeoisie. Khang and Lynn drove us home, and it was very apparent the wealth divide between the main streets people lived on, like the one we were staying at, and the ones curated for tourists and the wealthy. Lesson learned: do not trust what a country projects to the outside world without going there yourself. Day 7. I caught Sabrina's sickness, and it morphed into a man cold. And I was sick in bed the entire day and did not get any footage from the day, so enjoy random other footage that I recorded throughout the trip. Lesson learned: I am severely unable to function when I'm sick. Day 8. I was still sick, but I was determined to get better because Khang's family was nice enough to host a family dinner for me and Sabrina. There was about 15 of them. Most of the day was spent in the room again, but it was raining insanely hard and our road was starting to flood a bit, so it felt more acceptable. We struggled to find a ride to Khang's house because of all the raining, but we did eventually make it and met his lovely family. They were very welcoming and nice people. We ate dinner for like 2 hours, and Sabrina got kind of drunk off 2 beers. They all were making bets on how tall I was and were really interested in my height, which was new because I think I'm a pretty average height in Canada. It was a really good night, and I'm a little sad I didn't get any videos, but that also just means I was more in the moment. Lesson learned: family is more than just blood. Day 9. At 8:30 a.m., Sabrina went with Khang's sister on an adventure. They got a facial at a spa and had lunch and made phone cases. I was in the room alone until she returned at about 2:30. I was still somewhat sick, so it kind of acted like a rest day. I cleaned our room and did our laundry and read my books until she came back. Once she was back, she decompressed in the room for about an hour before we went off to the Gyak Lam Pagoda. The pagoda was really nice and had a sacred air about it. I donated money and, probably from a placebo effect, immediately began to feel better. Right when we had seen all we wanted to see of the pagoda, it began to rain. We went to an overhang in front of a shady washroom and were joined by all these little animals in the area who were also escaping the rain. They were very, very, very cute, and I pet a few cats. There was also a gigantic snail there, which I didn't think was real at first. Underneath the shelter, we began to book a taxi as usual, but then to our horror, discovered that the app did not work without Wi-Fi, even with my data on. We were stranded. I tried calling Khang, but it said his number did not even exist. Luckily, when I texted him, he responded fast and booked us a taxi on his phone. Very glad Khang was able to save our asses, so otherwise we would be stuck probably overnight at that pagoda. Once we returned to the Airbnb, it was nighttime, so we bought a tub of ice cream at a local convenience store and ate it while watching JoJo. The best night a high-class gentleman such as myself could ever even wish for. Lesson learned. Like it or not, the internet rules the entire world. Can't even get home without it. Day 10. Okay, so today was the makeup day for all the sick days. We went to like 5 places today. It was kind of crazy. Basically, we went to most of the stuff that we were going to go when I was sick, all in just one day. We started by going to Levantam Park, which had a limited time market there, so we were very lucky that we got there at the right time. I bought a little trinket for Sabrina and we walked around. It was a really nice time. I needed to go pee partway through, so I went to the washroom, when all of a sudden, this guy started trying to mug me. He was a lot shorter than me and he was talking about how he's Cambodian and wanted me to give him all my money. I said no and he started shoving me and telling me to give it to him. I just kept saying no until he left. Not sure if that's how mugging is supposed to work, but it worked out for me, I guess. There was no shot I was gonna get mugged by a pygmy. This guy was literally like less than my shoulder height, right? Like I should have been the one mugging him. I went inside the washroom after that and took my well-deserved piss. Khang met up with us at the market and we checked everything out, with him translating stuff for us. I bought a chopper figure and bought Sabrina a cute little keychain. After we had our fill, we went to a church nearby, which was bright pink. We wanted to go inside, but someone was getting hitched. Good for them, I guess. We then all piled onto Khang's scooter and went to the turtle pond. There was no turtles there. Absolute scam. Khang told us a little story afterwards about like a turtle giving a general a sword or something, and it's like in honor of that, and there was never any turtles there, but like still, it was very misleading. Then we went to the Jade Emperor Pagoda, which we were planning to go on our very first day, but things kept coming up that made us push it back. It was definitely worth the wait though. It was very interesting, and Khang knew different parts of the lore than I did, so we were kind of filling each other in. I knew more broadly the Buddhist mythology and the broader scope from all the Buddhist books I read, and he knew more specifically the individual gods, bodhisattvas, and practices that Buddhists did, as well as other higher beings, and more details on the paintings and statues due to his upbringing in a Buddhist society. Once we were all properly enlightened, we grabbed some lunch from a street vendor. Then we went back to the Airbnb and winded down in a cool, dark room until 7 p.m., when Khang took us to the Nguyen walking street. The street was interesting. There was like 5 different bands playing incredibly loud music while strippers danced on tables and drunk people stumbled around. It kind of reminded me a lot of Vegas. We got dinner at a small restaurant there and then Khang made us a drink. He got me a Jaeger bomb and Sabrina a gin and tonic. The Jaeger bomb was much too sweet for me, so we mixed it with beer. The bar we were in was very interesting and I was constantly reading all the intentional graffiti on the walls. Khang needed to drive Lynn home at 9, so we hopped in a cab and went home. This day definitely made up for all the days I was sick. Lesson learned. No means no. Even to muggers, apparently. Day 11. Today we decided to go to the Saigon Zoo. Honestly, kind of a mistake. Genuinely, it was one of the most depressing places I've ever been to. You can probably tell from the videos, but the animals are not doing well. I know that the tigers would maul me in an instant, but I still wanted to free them so bad. It was hot out and most of the water in the enclosures had dried up, with some animals desperately lapping up the mud that remained to even get a little bit of moisture. Sabrina cried at parts of the zoo because of the obvious torture the animals were being put through. This one's just been pacing and like looking for a way out for the last few minutes. And this other one has just been like scratching the door. It's very sad. I think we should abolish zoos. Like this is actually disturbing. This is like actually sad. The chimpanzees especially were so obviously intelligent, but were relegated to this shitty cage in a corner of the zoo. They had figured out how to pass items through a crack in the cage, but none of these brain-dead humans were able to realize it was trying to do something, and instead kept making stupid faces at it until it would make the face back, and then they would give it a treat. Other than their herbivore enclosure, pretty much every other place was a prison. The whole place stunk like piss and shit. There were some places where the animals couldn't lay down because there was so much shit on the ground and no one was cleaning it up. There were some monkeys that were nimble enough to squeeze through the cage bars, luckily, and they were roaming around the park. There was also a peacock here or there that had also escaped. In 100 years, I hope zoos like this one are looked at with disgust and make humans ashamed of what their ancestors did to those innocent animals. I became probably like 73% more vegan because of this zoo. Fuck this zoo. After we left the zoo, we decompressed at the Airbnb before Khang and Lin took us to District 2 in the evening. Khang said he knew a spot, and when a homie tells you he knows a spot, you follow him. Lesson learned. Zoos should be outlawed. Day 12. Last day of 2024. So Sabrina wanted a slow day to charge up for New Year's Eve. We basically hung around the Airbnb and just kind of read and chilled out until around 5 when we were invited and went to Khang's grandparents' 46th wedding anniversary, which was very nice of them. We had a nice dinner and were mega ultra full afterwards. Then we returned to the Airbnb to celebrate New Year's. And we went out to this nearby cafe where I was able to interview Khang.
Hey, Mom and Dad, if you're seeing this, I say fuck a lot. My bad.
So my first question is, what does friendship mean to you?
It's like, I think it's like a spiritual connection between people to people. Because right now we don't, because when we're in like a modern society, right? Everyone got a phone, and everyone just stopped talking to each other. Like, because when you see in like in the movies, like in the old movies, or as a reference for somebody who's like living in the older generations, like people still talk together, people still have that connection that's like slowly turned into a friendship, you know? Because when you're sitting on the train and you start talking to a guy and that guy is just taking the same train as you every day to work, you gradually become friends. Yeah. And right now we kind of lack of that. We lack of that connection between people to people. And that's why I really appreciate like every friend that I got. And especially you, Bran.
Aw.
Yeah. You. Hey, I mean, you came all the way from Canada, Bran.
Next question. Is Vietnam home forever, or could you see yourself moving somewhere else?
Sorry, basically the way I see Vietnam is right now it's the place that where when I need a reset, I just come here.
Okay.
Because everything is so familiar. I can ride a scooter anywhere I want, and things are a lot cheaper here. And plus, I got my family with me, so that's always a plus side. Even though like we're we're not that close. Like we don't talk to each other a lot, but we still have that like bloodline connection.
Yeah.
Bloodline connection. It's not a tight knit. It's not a tight knit one, but like it's nice that you have that.
But like, could you like see yourself moving away somewhere else and still like visiting Vietnam maybe? Like, could you make home somewhere other than Vietnam, or is Vietnam always going to be home?
I think Vietnam is always going to be home.
Yeah.
It's where I speak my language. It's where things are familiar, and it's hard to change that. You know, like even if like I'm moving abroad for like the next 10, 15 years, this place still my home. It's still familiar to me.
Yeah.
Everything. Thank you, man. That's some really thoughtful questions.
Yeah.
I've never thought of that way. Yeah. Like honestly.
This one is kind of a weird question. I don't really know what my answer would be, but why do you think humans have friendships when it stops benefiting them, like specifically? Like for example, like this friendship, like I dropped like $4K to come here, right? That does not benefit me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, I still come here because we're friends. But like, why do people do that? Like, from a business perspective, that's crazy. That's insane.
I think it still benefits you in some way. It's like benefits you on the emotional side.
Yeah.
Because when you meet me, and I meet you after such a long time, like 3 years is like probably the longest time I've ever seen someone.
Yeah.
Like I've not seen someone and then I see them again.
Yeah.
And then we're just lost for words. Like we just like hug each other.
Yeah.
And look at each other's eyes like, oh fuck. What did we say now? Like
you're not the funny guy on my phone anymore. What the hell?
Yeah.
Our legs are touching right now. What the hell?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's I think it's just like physical contacts and the chemicals in our brains works like that.
Yeah.
That's why it's kind of, even though it's not benefits you like financially and other things, but like our brains just like makes us think.
We're social creatures.
We're social creatures. Yeah.
Like even if it's like a toxic relationship, do you think both parties are still getting something out of it?
I think if it's still like a toxic relationship and you decide to stay in them, and you decide to stay in it, probably it benefits you in some way, in any shape or form. And I think people are afraid to be alone also, and they want to keep people around.
Do you think family has to be by blood, or can it be earned?
Because the thing is, family is the one you can always trust, you know? Because when you have to choose like a really difficult like decision you have to make between like your family or someone who's really close to you, and have you earned your respect, your trust, your everything, you still have to choose that family. But like in another case, if your family's like kind of like being like a bit shitty to you, like you have a shit connection with your family, probably the other way around. But who am I to judge? Like, you know, because in the mafia movie, like even in real life, like the Italian mafia, like they only choose like the 100% Italian, like in the bloodline, as the main man. And the other guy, if they trust him enough, like got their respect, the highest they can go is like a consigliere. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. The blood really doesn't matter. Yeah.
The blood really doesn't matter.
But, what's your favorite memory of our time together?
I think it's just our car rides. You know, it's just like you take me from school to where I used to live, like with my host, and then we have like really meaningful conversation. That's probably kept me alive, kept me going. Thank you, man.
Probably kept me alive too, honestly. It was, Thank you too. Yeah. Hey. I started recording like scenes for this video's intro, right? And I talked about those car rides in the intro. Yeah.
God damn.
That's crazy. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Crazy like just like a human connection, like just saves lives. Like, I think I probably would have killed myself too. You know, without that, right? So just like a human connection, even if it's just like for a couple. It wasn't that long a day.
Yeah.
It was like half an hour. If even, but just like a constant. a constant.
Oh, fuck that guy.
Yeah, constant
Yo,
time where
keep
you
that shit in.
Yeah,
Fuck that guy.
fuck that guy. Just a constant, like, yeah, just time to express yourself freely in a car with someone who doesn't really like judge.
Yeah. It's like free space.
Yeah, that's good.
It's kind of peaceful when you think it. Like when I think it back, like when I rethink it in retrospect, fuck, those times were like simpler times.
Yeah,
And we thought it was so complicated right now, but like we think, but right now in our situation, at the present, we think like about those times. It's just more simple.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure in like 10 years we're gonna think right now is
Yeah.
simple because in the future, I mean, we're probably gonna have like kids and like we're gonna have like a,
Yeah,
like,
we're gonna
house
have
and
more
shit, like,
headaches, bro.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember back at that time, it was like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
And now it's like, man, this sucks. But it's like,
I mean, it's,
I kinda-
it's a
I kinda-
constant grind.
but I kind of miss it too. Like,
Yeah.
I guess because we're only really remembering the good times, but like still,
So when I look at the bad times, I think it's not that bad. Like, you know?
yeah,
Not, when I just rethink everything, oh, that's just not that bad. I probably don't need to kill myself. But like, why would I be that sad?
yeah. Okay, my last question. How do you see our friendship evolving in the future?
You know what's funny? I actually thought of this before. And I think it would be dope if you come live in Vietnam. And it would be cooler if I come live in Canada. Because like our kids could be friends and like we're in the same neighborhood and shit.
Yeah,
We keep drinking without driving, you know? Like just walk to each other's houses.
yeah. We're just a little too far away. We end up drinking and driving.
Yeah.
we gotta be close. Yeah,
We gotta be close.
Yeah,
We
closer
gotta-
to walk. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and our kids can go to the same schools and shit. And then you can pick up my kids when I'm like drunk and high as home. And then our kids can do like fucking sports together, bro. We're gonna be some good goddamn coaches. Yeah.
Amen. So yeah, you just
Your kid's gonna be dumb at math, and my kid's gonna show you how to fucking do it, kind of.
just the generational cycle continues.
Yeah.
that is, yeah.
Yeah, my kid's gonna get depressed and get into a car ride with your kids, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be all over again.
Yeah.
Well then, hopefully it's gonna go that way. Or if you live in Vietnam, but probably you won't have a kids because we're gonna have so much time partying.
Yeah. Do you have any closing remarks?
I think it's like we're destined to like see each other at this time of the year. So, because we got so many things to talk about, like so at the start of the year or in last year. Because last year you tried to come here,
Yeah.
and it was such a bump that you can't.
Yeah.
Or could fuck. Apologies for my English. So we got like a full year of doing everything without each other.
Yeah.
And now we can like sit down and talk about it. And that's like the best closure that I could ever have, like,
Yeah.
or imagine like we could ever have. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're entering a new chapter.
Yeah,
At the end of this
yeah.
year. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fitting time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll experience something on the next year, and probably many years after. And then we come back to each other and like, oh fuck, haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
Oh shit, you got 2 kids? Oh fuck, you got engaged? I mean, if one of us got married, like, I think we both would go to each other like weddings, right?
Of course.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much wrap it up.
Yeah, I got one more thing to say. I love you, Khang.
I love you, man. That's kind of gay though. Fuck. Cut that shit out.
Day 13, January 1st, 2025. Happy New Year. This morning, Sabrina went out with Khang's sister to get her nails done, and we swapped phones so that she would have data, because her phone doesn't have a SIM card. I hung out around the house for a bit before she texted saying that they wanted me to come too. They sent a taxi scooter to pick me up, and I was off. It was an adventure because I was alone in the middle of Ho Chi Minh City with no data and practically zero understanding of Vietnamese. I managed to make it to my destination, and we got a table and started painting. We painted for probably about 5 hours, and it was actually really fun. I could see myself doing more in the future if I had more time. I think this was my third painting since like probably grade 6 or something like that. It turned out pretty well. I'm quite proud of it. It was getting late after the painting, so we went home. Lesson learned. You're a lot more capable than you think. I thought I'd be screwed in the city alone, and I thought I would be unable to make art I was proud of, but I did both. Day 14. Woke up at 4:30 a.m. to go to Vung Tau. At 5:30, a white van picked me and Sabrina up at the end of an alley, and we hopped in. Sketchy as all hell, but Khang said that he had booked it. After a 3-hour car ride, we were in Vung Tau. Really beautiful place. We started our tour by going to the largest Jesus statue in Asia. It was at the top of a hill, which was quite the trek, but it was definitely worth it. After that, we walked all the way down to the beach at the base of the mountain and splashed about. Me and Sabrina had a nice time at the beach while Khang and Lynn had some alone time. We then grabbed lunch and then went to the mountains. This whole trip, my main goal was to feed a wild monkey a banana, and I've been thinking about it and when I was going to do it pretty much the whole trip. So you can imagine how excited I was when I found out the mountain had monkeys. We ran to a pack of them and I managed to feed the alpha not 1, but 2 bananas.
Look at his ball sack. My god. Oh.
Monkey. Monkey. Monkey.
That's just already eaten. That's done. Feed this guy. He's waiting for it. He just spit it out. Oh. Oh, human and monkey. Oh, you want to hold it, bro.
Yeah, I should have given it to him better. Guys, chill as hell. Guys, chill as hell. Here, take it, brother.
He loves the bananas.
Hell yeah.
Yo, pet him.
I don't want to.
Don't pet him.
Do it.
I'm not going to pet him. He's going to actually try to murder me.
Do it. Hey, man. Where are you going?
I'm making it complete. I had 2 months of banana. That was my #1 goal this entire trip.
Zimbo, Kim. There we go.
Hey, bro.
That guy has some massive testicles. I will look at this. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
That is
Look at
insane.
massive
That
balls,
man
bro.
fucks.
With my mission complete, we started heading back home, and because of the traffic, it took about 4 hours to get back. Today was probably my favorite day of the trip overall, even though I got a sunburn, 8 mosquito bites, 2 rashes, and almost shit my pants. Lesson learned. Physical pain is less powerful than a good mindset. Day 15. Last full day in Vietnam. This morning, Sabrina was sick again, so we stayed home. At 2, we went with Khang and Lynn to the Saigon History Museum. Probably one of the coolest museums I've been to. It walks you through the history of the city and the region around it, starting with Homo erectus arriving hundreds of thousands of years ago, and ending with the founding of the Communist Party of Vietnam. It was filled with ancient artifacts and even had a 300-year-old mummy. There were lots of religious artifacts, and it was cool seeing the religion transition from folk religion to Hinduism and then eventually into Buddhism. It was also interesting to seeing the pattern of North Vietnam conquering the South again and again and again, usually under the influence of foreign powers. Hopefully that trend can end and Vietnam can retain its independence, but we'll have to wait and see. After the museum, we were going to hop on the Saigon water bus, but realized we would have to wait 2.5 hours, so we decided to walk around the waterfront instead. We had a nice evening doing just that, and just kind of hanging out. I'm going to miss Khang when I return home to Canada, and probably Lynn too, despite the language barrier. We caught a taxi home, and it took over an hour to drive like 4 kilometers due to all the traffic. That is one thing I will not be missing about this place. Once we returned home, we packed up our things to be ready to leave tomorrow morning. I can't believe it's almost over already. Day 16. Homebound. We checked out of the Airbnb in the morning before going over to Khang's house to hang out with him one final time before we hit the flight. We ended up going to the tomb of a Vietnamese general while we waited. At 3, we traveled to the airport and said goodbye to Khang. I don't know when I will see him in person again next, but hopefully not in another 2.5 years. It could be even longer than that, but I'm really hopeful that it's not going to be that long. Took one last breath of Vietnamese air before boarding our plane. We basically did the same trip that we took on the way over, but in reverse. Except that my mom was kind enough to pick us up at the airport so we wouldn't have to navigate Vancouver when tired. We also both got sick on our way back, so it was extra helpful that my mom drove us home. We dropped Sabrina off at her house and I arrived back home just before midnight. Lesson learned, it's okay to ask for help. Okay, so some final thoughts. If you have any friends that maybe moved far away and you haven't seen in a while, I'd recommend that you shoot them a text and maybe try to organize a trip to see them. If distance is the only thing hindering your friendship, I'm sure they'll be very glad to see you and you will be glad to see them too. I think friendship is incredibly important to living a good life, as different friends will bring out different aspects of yourself that you might not even be familiar with. I also highly recommend traveling. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of 14-hour plane rides, but interacting with completely different cultures and seeing the world in a new light is extremely important in developing yourself. Plus, I feel like traveling makes you a kinder person, as you realize people all over the world are very similar, even if they don't look alike or speak completely different languages. Everyone is kind of just trying to get by in this crazy world that we all share. Be kind.